Sauce. Oh dear. Sauce. Yep, it works. Ruben Sim. 5 Nights at Ruben Sim's. He banned 100,000 Roblox users. The heck's numbers?
I have an update on Mars Clute. This was the guy who threatened to sue me for banning him from Roblox. Still haven't heard from the lawyer. I did hear from a Kiwi Farms user that his full name and address had been discovered, along with his Minecraft account, which had a Hitler skin, and one of the former usernames was I Love Hitler. Also interesting was a profile he had on a website that, since we're on YouTube, I will describe as a corn website. If you couldn't tell already, Mars Clute is horrifying profile he had on a website that, since we're on YouTube, I will describe as a corn website. If you couldn't tell already, Mars Clute is horrifyingly addicted to corn. That's right, he spends every single day, presumably, looking at corn. He stands out in his field and he watches corn all day. He loves corn so much, he makes accounts on corn websites, and even makes corn videos. I would love to show you guys what he looks like, but I feel like if I do, he's gonna file a privacy complaint. Instead, I've asked my viewers to draw pictures of him. Wow, that's a good one. Pretty accurate. This is another good one. Certified diaper pisser. This one kind of looks like me. What the fuck? Wow, okay. I love the shading on this. Here's another good one. You could probably guess what the reference photo looks like by now. Great job, AssBeater69. There is another reference photo. This guy did an overpainting of it. Nicely done. Ah, this one. This guy took a few artistic liberties. So yeah, that's the update on Mars Clute. Hi, is this...
Who is this?
My name's Ruben. I'm calling to ask if you have a brother named,
Yes.
I'm just calling to let you know that your brother had some of his personal info leaked, so I just wanted to give you a heads up in case you've been getting any weird phone calls or emails.
I'm sorry, how'd you get this number?
It's kind of a long story. Basically, there's these companies that collect personal info, like names, addresses, phone numbers, and they bundle it up and they sell it to anyone who wants it.
I've been giving anyone permission to sell my information.
Well, you don't have to. Companies can do this legally and make tons of money off of it. You can send them opt-out requests, but they make it intentionally difficult, and there's hundreds of these companies, so it's almost impossible to get your information offline.
Okay, so...
ra.com/RubenSim. You can get a free 14-day trial and get all of your info taken down.
Okay, I'll take a look. Thanks for the heads up.
You're welcome. Take care.
I love that.
I think last video I showed some stats on the Easy system. So we had 62,000 confirmed accounts. What's the number at today? 146,000. So how did we go from 62,000 to 146 so quickly? You guys remember Row Cleaner, the Discord bot that had a database of 640,000 Discord accounts found in condo servers? We used Block's link to find all of the Roblox accounts that were linked to these Discord profiles, and we found over 200,000. But there are some problems with that. First, some people join condo servers on accident. And the second problem is if we import 200,000 accounts all at once, the developers that use our system are gonna see an explosion of appeals. I don't want to put that burden on the devs, and I definitely don't want to introduce a ton of false positives. So instead of importing all 200,000, I decided to go through and filter out any accounts that were only in 1 or 2 condo servers. So what this means is anyone who is in 3 or more condo Discord servers is in our database now. I think the total count was in the 40,000s. We used these accounts and we fed their data into a couple other programs that we have, and we found a lot of groups that were made specifically for accessing condo games. So that's where the other 20,000 came from. And these are groups that you would have absolutely no other reason for joining. They don't have games in them, they don't have a store. They're made specifically by and for condo players. And even with this, the amount of appeals I've been getting has still exploded. If I just go in my Google Drive, I look at the stats for the appeal form. We have a questionnaire, and one of the questions is, have you played condos on this account? And over half of the respondents said yes. So the condo players seem to be getting hit hardest. Why do you believe you were added to the ban list? Being in a condo server, because I was in a condo server. I joined a condo server. I believed I've played a condo game on this account, and it's true that I played before. For stay in condo servers, thanks by one of my friends who active play this type of games. What is going on in schools where this is the level of English kids are at? With the blocks link, they discovered me. I was in one of those typo servers, play apartment games.
Not
close,
the same
because I played condo like 2 years ago, and I have changed. The very last time I joined one was like 3 or 4 months ago. This is what they all say. They say, I've changed. I don't do this anymore. The last time I played Roblox porn games was a month ago. If I look up month, look at that, 15 results. I've been staying away from them for about 2 or 3 months now. I've not played any of those games for the past 5 months. Is that a question? First of all, a few months ago, I accidentally clicked on some wrong links. I think I know who this is. This guy has appealed about a dozen times. I tell him no every time, and he just refuses to take no for an answer. Sir, the answer is no, okay? No matter how many times you ask, I am not unbanning your account. Please leave me alone, or you will hear from my lawyer. No, I'm kidding. I want guts and black powder again. I want to play my games again. Well, too bad. You don't always get what you want. I want to play game. User was found in groups dedicated to erotic roleplay. Okay, but he wants to play game. Okay, this part of the video is dedicated to Soul the Sloth, a small child who was spamming our appeal form with some not very nice messages. So he made like 4 different emails to send these. He sent these pictures. They're of me as a Chinese guy, an alien, and a being of pure energy. I made like 4 different emails to send these. He sent these pictures. They're of me as a Chinese guy, an alien, and a being of pure energy. But then he sent this like weirdly sexual one that talks a lot about gooning and boobies and big boobs.
Big boobs?
Look at this. I can't even...
Let's watch this Rogue Internet Man video instead.
To be enthralling. While I may see the days another calm, peaceful addition to the backlog of days that have passed since this blue and green ball started spinning, a lolcow or unmedicated schizophrenic might see a greater government conspiracy involving adrenochrome and laser beams, or that there are stealthy extraterrestrials walking among us who have integrated within our society. I find that suspension of belief to be strangely captivating. While what they say is almost always objectively false, it's intriguing to try to understand their way of thinking. You know, like what makes them tick? What excites them? What is their reasoning for getting out of bed in the morning? Are they even aware that what they're saying is totally and completely bonkers? Do they even care? These are the heavier thoughts I've had about this stuff, and while I don't have a clear answer, I'll happily continue to try and understand what is going on, even if I'm not a trained professional. That being said, some time back I released a video about the world of gang stalking and the targeted individuals that are persistently victimized by their oppressors, with their stalkers ranging from being people in their lives to shadow organizations and cabals. These folks are working tirelessly to bring down a collection of people for no particular rhyme or reason. In that video, I teased the prospect of talking about today's subject, a person who has gained a cult following online for the unusual things he says, some of the ghastly views of his mouth that we've had the opportunity to observe, his recollections of his day-to-day life, and the royal lineage that has led up to his existence. This person is none other than Tony Chase, one of the most important people to ever exist. In today's video, we'll be broadly going over his story, dissecting the various happenings of the macrocosm that is his life, and the impact that he's had on the internet. Buckle up, this one's gonna be a doozy.
How you guys doing? This is another thing of importance in reference to penis size and balls.
Tony Chase, whose real name is Mark Anthony Ray, is an
Oh, why
up-and-coming
did
internet
you reveal his
personality
real
that
name
has
like
built an
that?
audience by breaking down the many events that happen in his day-to-day life. He was born on December 12, 1971. He regularly uploads nonsensical videos to YouTube without any filters or editing, just a stream of consciousness that continues until he's either too angry to keep recording or he believes that he has properly explained his point. And spoiler warning, none of his points ever make sense.
The satellite man just did this shit to my bike again. Man, I'm not fucking with you, you sick, ugly piece of shit government fucking Better stay out of my royal life, you motherfucker.
Tony is very, very mentally ill, suffering from schizophrenia. This mental deficit has impacted his ability to accurately and reliably perceive the world around him, and as such he hallucinates and unknowingly shares inaccurate information when venting to the camera. This unfortunately makes Tony an unreliable narrator, so during this video you'll have to take everything he says with a grain of salt, but it's a lot more interesting to assume that he's actually correct and is telling the honest-to-God truth.
I think this,
and I can't believe I have to
Spruce
say this,
Parkland
but just
will go
because
really
he's not
good with
mentally
the,
well does not mean that he is a bad person or deserves to be attacked for the way he is. This is not something he has control over, and it's stupid to make him a target for pointless harassment. Realistically, he won't even respond to most stimuli because he's too caught up with the things that are currently happening in his personal life, or at least the things that he thinks are happening. But sadly, I have to make a disclaimer because idiots are always going to take things too far. He's claimed to be the result of a long-lasting dynasty of royal blood being passed down from generation to generation, with the purest genetics known to man, allowing him to have a magnificent and highly sought-after penis, renowned for its shocking length. Tony is no mere peasant, as he controls many massive corporations and conglomerates that his family has bestowed upon him as a birthright. He also believes that he was supposed to inherit trillions of dollars from his family's estate. But of course, the money was taken from right under him because the government decided that it was theirs. They created a fake birth certificate and subsequently held him hostage. I warned you guys, Tony is a little different.
I'm gonna try to get up off the toilet now. They're still hitting me in the teeth while I'm sitting on the toilet too.
Despite the fact that he is horrifically unwell, he has managed to hold down a few jobs in the time since he has made his debut onto the internet. We'll discuss his career history a touch more later on, but it's worth noting that Tony is a capable man. He had a CDL until the satellite man put an end to that. He's worked in retail and various types of hands-on jobs. He's definitely capable and can follow directions, but he's just so heavily afflicted by his problems that he becomes unpredictable, and in a work environment, that is a recipe for disaster. The reason why he lost his CDL is because he was unable to renew it after failing a CDL refresher course. This course was required due to some issues he had in regards to his power steering, which had been tampered with by the government, or at least that's what he claims.
How you guys doing? This is very important in reference to the crimes of government. The government has to be charged for trying to murder me as their way of blocking me from being a truck driver. And, you know, they haven't compensated me at all. Not received any monies at all, you know. And they intentionally sabotaged my truck driving test at the state test.
Oh no.
Satellite man was burning my face and teeth when I was in the truck, trying to park the truck. Plus, they sabotaged the truck, you know.
Tony definitely has a selection of varying traits, and his resourcefulness is definitely one of them. I can't help but commend Tony for trying to stay afloat in this awful economy that we've all found ourselves in. And unlike the many people I've talked about before that would much rather sit on their ass and collect a government check every month, Mr. Chase goes out of his way to contribute to society so he can earn a nice, tidy pay. That is a stand-up man,
no more
ladies and
scroll
gentlemen.
effects.
Tony
That's
has
how you do
generated
it.
a massive digital footprint by creating accounts for himself on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, various adult websites, forums, and blogs. His entire online presence, when not being briefly used to talk about how awesome his life is and how everybody else is below him, is to spread awareness of his arch-nemesis, the dreaded
This is gonna
Satellite
be
Man.
crooked.
We'll touch on this character more later on in the video, but the skinny of it is that the Satellite Man is someone that Tony is convinced is actively burning his teeth and attempting to steal his impressive and lengthy tallywhacker. He's essentially a scapegoat character to explain Tony's dental problems, why he gets sick, and so that way he has someone or something to blame whenever he experiences an inconvenience or undergoes misfortune. Due to the fact that Tony cannot be trusted to chronicle the actual happenings of his past and current day-to-day life, we have to just play along with the schizophrenic delusions that he divulges in. He may occasionally tell the truth, but the bigger picture gets obfuscated by his word salading and general nonsense. There's likely some truth mixed in with his various warped beliefs, but there's always noticeable leaps in logic whenever he's sharing what's on his mind. Tony has made numerous claims of growing up in the sun-soaked state of
Critters and
California,
Crawlers is
specifically in
such a
Hollywood.
good mod.
According to family members of his that have shared
Cozy
details about
Critters
his
and
history, he worked as a child
Yeah,
actor
both
and
of
landed a
these.
few minor roles, but it
Critters and
ultimately
Crawlers
never
and
amounted to much. Some astute investigators also checked his previous address history, and they discovered that his name was registered to an apartment in West Hollywood at one point. So, like I said, there's a chance that he's telling the truth in between his incorrect recollections. For example, he has undergone some kind of speech therapy. This is not uncommon, as there are many children that have noticeable speech impediments, those who struggle with pronouncing certain types of words, and who could forget those with a tongue-choking lisp. His reasoning for receiving assistance for his speech is not because he had some difficulties with talking properly, but rather he was shot in the face and had to undergo speech therapy as part of his rehabilitation post-surgery. I don't buy that this happened for a second, but it's certainly
Sorry
a
if
lot
it was
more
a little too
entertaining to
loud.
take what he says as the gospel.
He's doing. That satellite man just communicated. He said he dared me to claim that I outranked him or something. Do you own Smith & Wesson or do I? Do you own Winchester or do I? Do I own the NRA or do you? Do I own military installations, weapons corporations in this country or do you? Do I own air fighter jet manufacturing and commercial jet manufacturing? Do I own 165,000 gas stations around the fucking world?
Oh no.
Or is it you? Or am I the owner? Do I own John Deere tractor or do you? Do I own Freightliner or International or Peterbilt? Or do you? Do I own Mack Truck? What companies do you think I own? Do
Okay,
I
but
own
the-
General Motors?
the black
Or do I
Arbalete
own
brick looks good,
Lamborghini,
okay?
Ferrari, Chevrolet? What do you own, motherfucker?
Another example is his claims of being kidnapped as a child. Due to his alleged royal blood and high value in the market, Tony has proposed a theory that he was kidnapped by nefarious actors who would lift him from the streets where he was residing. California, North Carolina, New York, the location was not important. He said that his mother sent truancy officers to where he was being held because he wasn't in school. This is why the kidnappers would later falsify details about his identity via the Greenfield document. The Greenfield document is a false birth certificate created by his spooky government kidnappers. In his mind, this is when he was assigned the name Tony Chase. In reality, it's far more likely that this is actually his real birth certificate, but he'll happily fight burnt tooth and nail to clear his name of the false one. We'll discuss why I keep bringing up his teeth shortly. Trust me, I know I keep saying things are coming, but it's horrifying and worth it. I'd also like to point out that there's a distinct possibility that truancy officers were summoned to his place of living because he was just missing school. You know, something entirely different than what he was alleging was happening to him. It really doesn't make sense to send officers over for something like that when he was actually being held against his will. If his mom sent them, why wouldn't they be over there in reference to an abducted child? I know, I'm reading too far into it, but Tony's story is really just something. Some of Tony's family members have come forward to shed light on the mysterious
sappy.
life that he lives. His brother, Robert
What?
Ray, did divulge that Tony has 3 siblings in total, 2
Whoa.
brothers and a single sister.
Sauce.
This same brother, Robert, can be seen in the video titled, I Am Not
Wait, is
Robert
someone
Ray.
speaking
Robert
chat?
Ray is the person that is on the porch in this video. We can see good old Robbie hanging out on Tony's porch. He was likely trying to spend time with his blood, but unfortunately Tony is often too far gone to withstand cordial conversations over coffee and lunch. Tony believes that people are accusing him of being Robert Ray, and let's be fair here, people who are following him around online likely call him Robert just to push his buttons. He'd go on to post a video where he clears the air regarding this topic so nobody will confuse him for Mr. Ray, and also let the government know to eat shit. Tony gives sound, reasonable logic as to why and how he's not Robert Ray.
Hello, how you guys doing? This is very important in reference to many things, but important to lighting is what it is. This government man has tried to call me Robert Ray. Now, I don't know if Robert Ray's involved in this. I don't think he is. But I'm the child of my mother and father. The role protocol in the media is my identity, not Robert Ray's identity. They've been doing this shit. You know, Robert Ray had like a scar on his face. The satellite man or these government people have tried to put a scar right here, which is not in the royal protocol. It's not, you know, if there's any damage on my body other than what has been in the royal protocol in reference to birthmarks, beauty marks, and scars, and if the satellite man was burning on me, the satellite man has to get arrested. These people, the satellite man and his people are trying to play tricks. You know, I have the scar right here, scar here on my lip. Had a beauty mark here that they burnt off with the satellite. It's a real birthmark. And had another birthmark somewhere on the cheeks.
Ornate
They burnt
glass.
that too. These people trying to steal my birthmarks and beauty marks and documented scars from when I was little Main things of importance are trying to make me burp right now.
Some of his nieces have shared their opinions and feelings toward their uncle. One of them expressed that he was a loving and enjoyable person when he was younger, prior to heading out to California. It's her belief that he was somehow changed by external sources, such as whatever people he was surrounded by when he was in Hollywood, which caused an immediate steep decline in his mental acuity. It's entirely possible that his mental health issues are caused by a deep-rooted trauma, or perhaps he suffered an injury, or maybe he did drugs that left a permanent mark on him. There's no way to truly know, but odds are he was already mentally ill prior to heading out there, and there was either something that worsened his symptoms or it just happened naturally. Another niece gave him even further information about his childhood, particularly that there might be a touch of truth to Tony's claims that he was kidnapped. She shared that his immediate family, like his mom, his siblings, the works, were often moving due to domestic issues with his father. This was a recurring problem for them that likely traumatized the children that were present, especially Tony. She also claimed that there was no evidence for Tony abusing any kind of narcotics. This is highly unlikely, as Tony's aunt, who was his landlord as she owned his current house until she passed, had informed Tony that she had discovered several pipes around his house. He shifted the blame onto his deceased brother Ronald, likely because he wouldn't be able to protest these assertions. However, there's stronger evidence for his drug use that goes far beyond just what his family recalls. Tony's notoriety online is largely due to his squabbles with his arch-nemesis, the Satellite Man. This character, also referred to as the Satellite Controller and the Government Man, serves as the primary antagonist in Tony's story, and he's been battling the seemingly unstoppable force for about 15 years. Tony first started publicly talking about his enemy all the way back then. He has an IMDb profile under the name Royal Prince Rockefeller Hughes. This caught the attention of various folks online, leading to people to start posting about the things that Tony talked about on his accounts around the web. On October 12, 2010, user Batcheck on the Whirlpool forums created a post to spread awareness of what he had discovered. Came across this Hollywood actor on IMDb the other day. Reading the first few sentences of his resume and looking at the length of it, this guy is suffering some deep mental illness. He claims to be the only son of deceased billionaire Howard Hughes, and he's approximately 21 to 25 years old. Obviously, he's unaware that Hughes died 30 years ago. Worth a read for a good laugh. I'm tempted to ring him and say I'm Michael Bay and want him to star in Transformers 4. This was merely a stepping stone toward the notoriety that Tony would eventually attain. He had created a YouTube channel in January of that year, where he began to record himself and his thoughts, thus beginning the wider spread of Tony's web-based misadventures. These videos served as everyone's real introduction to the Satellite Man and the many injustices that he would throw onto Tony.
How y'all doing? I rather see the government and their torture tracking games of them spying on my face and them burning my mouth and lips and teeth. That is attempted murder. That bleeds the mouth, that bleeds the anatomy. And their government people playing this game of their people.
The Satellite Man is Tony's catch-all for any plight in his life. The vile actions of this person or group range from the following: burning Tony's teeth, causing him intense neck and ear pain; attempting to assassinate people. He is sometimes successful but inconsistent. Theft of property, including businesses, assets, and status. Poisoning and choking Tony's pet cats. Dismantling technology in Tony's home, such as appliances like computers, light fixtures, those sort of things. Stealing semen and eggs from his targets. Sabotaging opportunities for Tony, such as his jobs and any potential relationships with people that he may have. It's worth noting that this isn't everything that is perpetuated by the Satellite Man, and it's very likely that he or it has somehow caused every single problem in Tony's personal life, despite the lack of the Satellite Man's tangible existence. Simply put, the Satellite Controller is more of Tony's own personal boogeyman. He's always got somebody to fear and shift the blame onto whenever he feels so inclined.
This is American. I'm telling you, leave my American pet alone, you motherfucker. I'm gonna need a plastic bag to put over your fucking government fucking head in the courtroom. So you can fight for your fucking air to breathe, motherfucker. You better leave my cat alone! I am not fucking around with you, you fucking piece of shit. Hello, governors and mayors, are you advocating this Satellite Man and his fucking terrorism? This home wrecker? This fucking terrorist? Are you advocating the lies and the tricks of these satellite controllers? You better quit hitting me in the fucking teeth, government man, or I'm gonna bust you in your fucking mouth in the courtroom. Show up, motherfucker!
The Satellite Controllers operate inside control rooms around the world, likely stashed away in some clandestine spot. The individuals who play the role of the Satellite Man are German and or Middle Eastern, making Tony view them as high-level Nazi terrorists that are working under and with the assistance of the US government. This makes the feds complicit in the harassment of Tony and whoever else they've got in their crosshairs. Despite appearing to be a spooky league of anonymous villains, Tony identified one member by name, referring to them as Sergeant Hill. This guy is apparently the primary person behind all of the attacks that have transpired since the very beginning. The Satellite Man's main form of attack is to use directed energy weapons to burn Tony's teeth, face, neck, arms, legs, and really anywhere else on his body. Tony once uploaded a video where he pulled his lips back to reveal the extensive damage done to his choppers, blaming the destruction on German and Middle Eastern laser beams. The burns are noticeably on the front of his teeth, and as such they've rotted to just about their core from the outside in. Most people upon seeing this footage assume that he neglected his dental hygiene, and while that is most likely a major contributing factor, most others come to the conclusion that he's smoking crack. This, in my opinion, makes the most sense. Crack is generally cheap in comparison to powdered cocaine, and it offers an immediate high, all at the low cost of your mental and physical health. Odds are that Tony likes to get high, or used to anyway, and crack cocaine was his vice of choice. This bit of partying permanently damaged his smile and his fragile mental fortitude, making him the almost incomprehensible person that he is today. And you know, all things considered, it could also be meth. Then again, I'm not a drug addict, so what would I know?
Screw it, I'll just build it up.
You did to my teeth, man. Look at those black marks. Those are laser marks on the teeth. Laser burns.
Oh my
laser
gosh.
burns.
Laser burns.
And my dentist needs to go on television and state the facts that those are laser burns on the teeth.
The entire claim that a third party is causing him physical pain lines up with the mindset of gang-stalking victims, who are convinced that not only are they being stalked by a series of people that operate in the shadows, but they also use energy weapons to damage their victims. This also seems to be more prevalent at night. As he's mentioned, it's impacted his sleep schedule. A lack of sleep can worsen mental health problems and also generally dull your quick wits. Tooth pain can also happen more frequently at night due to increased blood flow to the head when laying down. And Tony might grind his teeth a bit during his naps.
Crazy
not
how,
to suggest that he has enough teeth to necessitate grinding
how
them.
much sleep
Tony's belief is that the
helps
government
you.
is intentionally
Like,
frying
sleep
his
just does a
choppers
lot
because he has
for you.
perfect, immaculate pearly whites with no imperfections, and the satellite controllers
start
wanted to
going
take
bed
that from
earlier.
him. He attempted to protect himself from the actions of the government, despite his precautions being unable to prevent his internal pain whenever his protective gear is on the outside of his body. In fact, sometimes the pain even worsens when he tries to fight against it, and this has convinced him that his rivals are hitting him even harder in retaliation. He's used a variety of
This is
different
such a
gear,
cool chest
topicals,
plate.
and bodily guards to
One of
try
the
to
best
prevent
armor
himself from
designs I've ever
experiencing
seen
further
in the
pain.
world
This
of
ranges
Minecraft,
from,
yeah.
but is not limited to, band-aids and face masks in conjunction with aspercream, a wrist brace, athletic tape, Kotex pads, topical creams and ointments. The Satellite Man has also attempted to steal Tony's identity, beyond just trying to kidnap him when he was a young man. The reason why they want to assume his role is because they're after his inheritance and his regal status. Well, for starters, Tony is a citizen of the United States of America, and according to the Constitution in Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, what Tony claims about his royal title is a bunch of hogwash. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. So Tony's claims about being royalty and having a title of nobility is nothing more than one of his many delusions. He alleges that the intent to take his identity is so that way they can damage his reputation, so people would be convinced that he's a drug-abusing criminal instead of a harmless victim of stalking.
Cute
Remember,
brick lanterns.
because he's followed around to
Speaking
the
of
ends
which,
of the
the
earth by a
copper-
cryptocracy. This is
copper
obviously
ages
his
out,
mental
I'm
illness
sure, right?
responding to onlookers accusing him of doing drugs and living an unclean lifestyle.
That's an American cat, and you need to get deported. Have you murdered white people's pets, Satellite Man?
Oh my goodness.
You need to go to court. No matter what.
Oh.
You're not going to ruin my relations with my friends that are African American or black.
Another dastardly tactic used by his opposition is the attempted theft of Tony's penis. For whatever reason it may be, Tony has an unusual obsession with talking about his ding-dong. It's apparently quite impressive, coming in at a whopping 41 inches. However, we have yet to feast our eyes upon his mighty hang-low. I guess we'll just have to take his word for it. Some have theorized that Tony's bizarre infatuation with phalluses might be some kind of repressed homosexuality that he's refusing to let out, especially since his current YouTube channel is named I'm Not Gay, Not Ever. I think it's more so that he just values his pecker's impeccable prowess. The Satellite Man views large Johnsons as a threat to society. You know, a major problem that needs to be dealt with. Considering Tony allegedly has a trunk in his pants, that makes him target number one for his enemies. He also alleges that his parents somehow embedded actual diamonds into his penis for identification purposes. And I just have to assume that perhaps the Satellite Man might just be after those little rocks if he's actually trying to steal Tony's skin flute. He also thinks that, because the satellite controllers are partly German, that they believe testosterone is produced in the shaft of his hose, which most likely is another contributing factor to the controllers wanting to run off with his meat.
Do you really have a brain?
You thought a person's sexuality or potency of their activity of sexual interest you thought was produced in the shaft of the penis? Are you just a dirty gay German that's fucking stupid as shit? The reason why a lot of gay Germans or people with big balls are sex addicts is because testosterone is produced in their gay balls. That's why you got big nuts.
What is going on?
All Tony can really do about the satellite bastards is go into whatever social media service he chooses and demand that they be brought to justice. He often requests that the government enforce their own laws and bring down the evil folks that are burning his teeth and penis. Considering that he's under the impression that the same government is in on the con, it's unlikely that they'd ever do anything to correct their actions. Governments are prone to covering up sensitive information that can make them look bad, and I just can't imagine they'd be too happy if they were suddenly widely known for their involvement in the burning of Tony's teeth and the attempted heist on his doodads. Honestly, given what we know about the feds today, I wouldn't even be shocked if they were actually doing that kind of stuff with taxpayer money. Maybe one day we'll see a news headline about how an administration worked hard to cover up their Peter theft ring, and what various spy movie gadgets they used in the process.
Yeah.
Considering the theft of their theft ring, and what various we'll see a news headline about how an administration worked hard to cover up their Peter theft ring, and what various spy movie gadgets they used in the process. Considering the theft of his wedding tackle is a major point of contention for Tony, I think this is a good time to mention that Tony has delusions about what is nestled between his legs. One of Tony's more recent claims is that he is intersex, or in his own words, a hermaphrodite or hermaphrodite. I'm serious, he calls himself a hermaphrodite, a person who is born with both sets of sex organs. There's a very good chance that Tony is experiencing some kind of dysphoria, but I'm not an authority on the subject. He started claiming that he was in possession of both apparatuses in early 2023, going on about how each set of organs is still entirely functional. This obviously includes his penis, testes, vagina, and ovaries. This can happen to people who are interested, but it is very uncommon. And usually there's just vestigial tissue from the non-functional bits that reside somewhere on their body. Hell, he's even had mail sent to his address that refers to him as Mark Ray Hermaphrodite. He's under the impression that he would be able to impregnate himself and birth his own children. This is a major factor in why the satellite man has targeted him, intending to take control of Tony's odds and ends to create babies via his sperm and eggs. His ability to reproduce with himself makes him a protected class, or at least that's what he thinks. This means that any person who offends him should be prosecuted beyond what the fullest extent of the law allows. It's arguably the most heinous crime that could ever be committed. And how dare you victimize Tony after years of his teeth being burned? The fact that he has both tools makes him quite the attractive specimen for individuals that might want to copulate with him. In his eyes, this makes him quite the lucrative catch for lesbian women, and thus he started to refer to himself as a lesbian. But this self-appointed title is inconsistent at best. Him identifying as a lesbian calls his whole not gay, not never thing into question. His intersex status is something that he alleges affects his entire bloodline, and by that, I mean he's suggesting that every single person in his family tree is also intersex. In an interview with an admin of the Tony Chase Wiki, which by the way, you guys are fucking awesome and were a massive help in researching this video, Tony confirmed that his royal lineage was under attack by Hitler due to them being multi-tooled. Like I said, I'm not an authority on these kinds of things, but I can't help but feel like it'd be a tremendous strike of luck for his entire family to have the same exact condition. This whole thing implies that two people of the same ailment were able to meet each other and then produced more people like them, and so on and so forth.
Well, my parents, in reference to my family, 100 plus relatives got murdered in the Holocaust, and they were all hermaphrodites. Adolf Hitler's people who murdered them. And my grandparents were hermaphrodites, my mother and father, both sides.
Oh, come on, go lower.
100% hermaphrodites, both sides of the family.
Come on.
That's the only way to get a hermaphrodite. Otherwise, they only have, if somebody steals a baby, they'll only have like one ovary.
Oh.
Yeah, but
as opposed to the, right. They only have two.
I know he's just saying crazy things and I'm reading way too far into it. But how does he think this is even possible? The statistical probability for that is arguably incalculable. This is yet another example of his failing mental health, which could be solved or at least partly remedied by therapy and medication. But as you likely already put together, the odds of him getting things sorted out are basically nil. His immense lack of support and healthy outlets have negatively tarnished Tony's ability to reliably function on a stable level, and this is likely due to his many years of being unmedicated and left ruminating in his hovel. There's no denying that Tony suffers from schizophrenia, even though he has denied it time and time again. This impacts his ability to interpret the world around him, as anything and everything could be the result of some kind of hallucination. This is why he blames his bodily pain on the Satellite Man, and why any single person that appears in his life has the potential of being cloned or a body double, or something of that nature. Given everything I've researched, I have my doubts about him ever being seen by a psych doctor. I understand that there are people out there that are scared of taking medicine or getting treatment because the fear of the unknown is a pervasive trait in most people. However, his hallucinations prevent him from being able to trust medical professionals, therefore he will likely never receive any kind of viable treatment that could help him balance out his episodes. So I'd argue he needs help. Tony does, however, believe that psychiatry is part of a greater agenda by the Church of Scientology. Psychiatry is a bunch of bullshit in his opinion, made up to foster an industry of death. I'm fine with him blaming anything and everything on them because let's be real, anything is a good reason to hate Scientology. Tony has participated in a few interviews online, one of which was over Discord, where he was asked whether or not he hears voices in his head. Tony initially rejected this, claiming that he doesn't hear any disembodied people in his mind, but then immediately tried to suggest instead that he was getting voices broadcasted into his mind via a satellite beam. This is what victims of gang stalking refer to as voice-to-skull technology, where a person's mind can be infiltrated by intrusive thoughts that are being fired right into their gray matter via a directed energy weapon or sound waves. It's a powerful technology specifically designed to deteriorate Tony's mental fortitude and to make him appear crazy to people so they won't want to associate with him. I'm sure that this is totally factual and actually what happens.
Someone asked, do you hear voices?
No, that's bullshit. I know about satellite technology.
Okay, so you don't hear voices, right?
No, unless they're always saying they hate me.
I like how foggy it is.
I don't hate myself. I love myself. But somebody else hates me. What kind of voice would you be hearing? Somebody telling you that they hate you all the time, and they hate your face, and they hate your teeth, and they hate your hermaphrodite protection status, or they hate your money, of your family history. They hate the fact that your family built things in America before their family. Yeah, I know.
Well, Tony.
Yeah, some of the things they communicate is too specific to think you hear any voices.
Like a lot of people. Tony, a lot of people think you're like.
You hear the voice of that person hating you, you know. That's a joke.
When pressed about his schizophrenia during another interview, he deflected by declaring that his enemies are the ones who are actually schizophrenic, because they perpetuate lies and slanderous claims about Tony, his businesses, his royal lineage, and his pizza dough recipe.
Tried to murder me with their schizophrenia shit. I don't even act
like a
schizo.
because they called him.
They don't even know what a schizo is. They're the fucking schizos trying to make up shit. That's what a schizo does.
Just trying to
makes a falsification.
Get clout, or if they're actually like genuinely trying to figure out like what's wrong with them or help him.
Schizo tries to blame somebody nice or somebody a good person, and then tries to blame them to cover up their crimes of rape and sexual crimes and abuse.
As time moves forward, it appears that Tony's mental faculties will continue to dwindle, and his ability to accurately interpret the world around him will gradually fade away. He already lacks trust for people in his life and everything else, so it's only a matter of time before he succumbs to his mental illness. While it is entertaining to watch him babble on about the Satellite Man's many injustices, it's also quite tragic. Tony is somebody's kid, and he didn't choose to be crazy. He was dealt an extremely unfortunate hand of cards, and he's attempting to play them as best as he can. He may not always make sense, but he's surviving, and I gotta commend him for that. Tony's residence is his base of operations. This location has served as the primary battleground for his ongoing war with the Satellite Man. He inherited this property after his aunt died in 2019, and it has since become a war-torn hovel. The property was built in 1926, currently sitting at a value of $57,800. This is the only property that remains of Tony's royal inheritance, despite the fact that the government and the suits behind it have tried to take it away from him countless times. Tony has claimed that agents have tried to dismantle, vandalize, and sabotage his property in order to run him out of it. This doesn't make much sense considering that if the government was behind it, they could just force him to forfeit his property via eminent domain. The Satellite Man's evil beams are not only viable for inflicting pain upon Tony's maw, but the laser blasts also double as a deconstructive ray that can tear apart physical objects like housing. Some of the attacks include, but are certainly not limited to, damaging the old roof, clogging up the plumbing beneath the house, damaging the electrical system, and causing grass to grow too quickly. These traits can make it much harder to live in the house peacefully, but nevertheless, Tony pushes forward. His house is small and simple, and certainly would not be a bad starter home for a single person or a couple, and it's got a bit of a rustic charm to it given its age. Unfortunately, Tony has turned this lovely little living space into a cluttered hut. In fact, the room that he most often records from is a combination of his personal office, a kitchen, and a laundry room. His walls are covered with a selection of miscellaneous sheets of paper and objects that he's haphazardly affixed to the surface. The backgrounds of his videos often reveal interesting little knickknacks that he's decided to incorporate into a collection of assorted junk. This includes a photo of Tony smiling, so as to show how beautiful his teeth used to be before the satellite interference undid their stellar looks. Manwich Sloppy Joe packaging, a knee brace box, a box for an adult toy, a heart-shaped box of chocolates, and shopping bags from various stores, such as Best Buy, GNC, and Bed Bath & Beyond. He has addressed the countless odds and ends that he's decided to decorate his home with in a video titled No Touch Thermometer.
These products on the wall.
Hey people, I just realized
copyrights of.
I'm technically stealing content by doing that, so I don't want to do that.
Toothbrushes hanging on the wall. Satellite man's still been burning my teeth. Got toothpaste over there, mouthwash. Got like 5 or 6 different mouthwashes. Didn't stop the satellite man. And don't forget, my teeth and my mouth are healthy. This is vandalism and sex crimes of satellite controllers damaging my beautiful teeth because I'm not gay. So they damaged my teeth, claiming they were trying to turn me gay.
Oh.
I'm not gay, man. And they tried to call me somebody else that had a history of not having teeth. Find out all the names of the people they tried to confuse my identity with. Because all these people was criminals or drug addicts. These people kept trying to confuse me with drug addicts and shit. Trying to murder me all the time. And some of these people was high-profile politicians.
Even though the inside of his home is packed to the brim with a vast clusterfuck of trash, he does keep the paths relatively open, which is somewhat uncommon for people that hoard things. He's actually able to navigate his house with ease, which is great because I've been a little worried about what he'd do in the instance of a fire. If he's tinkering with the electrical components of his home because he believes that the satellite man is somehow interfering with them, there is a good chance that he could somehow cause an electrical fire. So, thankfully, he will at least be able to escape easily if the place is engulfed in flames. I just hope he'll be able to get his assortment of cats outside should that happen. Tony refuses to allow his enemies to irreparably attack and damage his living space. He's done things like board up windows, reinforce the walls by nailing particle board onto it, improperly patching holes in the roof, all to stop the repeated transgressions of his invisible nemesis. These changes are certainly not something that the city of Indianapolis would be happy to see, considering that there's a code that is required to be followed. But since Tony is a targeted individual, I suppose maybe he's exempt from this kind of ruling. His security measures also extend to ring cameras that he has installed at various points around his property, including his backyard, his front porch, and a few rooms in his house. These cameras have captured peculiar footage countless times, and helped paint a picture of just how unusual his neighborhood is. Random drug addicts have moseyed up to his front door, which also happens to be accompanied by a pile of aluminum cans, and rang his doorbell to no answer. Those are clearly government agents, and you can't convince me otherwise. Thanks to his willingness to share his stockpile of security footage, it's allowed us to better understand the happenings on his property. There have been videos of Tony practicing welding on his front porch, which is dangerous considering that if a passerby were to look at the arc of the welds, there's a chance that it could blind them. There are videos of him busting it down all crazy style. Videos of random bums approaching his door and knocking for unspecified reasons. Clips of Tony taking care of his yard despite how it always seems to be in disrepair. There's even a video of a person who was not identified, and the clip is titled "Who Is This 8525?" where some random dude walks up behind Tony's house and takes a piss. Now, I can't show the raw footage, even if I wanted to, but I will say that this fella does seem like one of the people behind the Satellite Man operation, and he was using his satellite urine to degrade the quality of the soil that Tony's foundation is built upon. The Satellite Man does not hold back, especially when he's relieving pressure from his bladder. It's safe to assume that he's labeled every person that he doesn't know who's visited his property as federal agents that are aiding in the harassment committed by the satellite controllers, if not actually being one of them. But by far the most reliable of his defense technologies is Leaf Blower, which he's been seen using inside his battle station to blow away any potential burning beams that the government may have been actively broadcasting into his place. Tony's armed and dangerous, brother. He keeps that thing on him and he knows how to use it. Satellite controllers better watch the fuck out. The Ray, or rather Chase bloodline, is one of the most significant and illustrious in recorded history. There have been dynasties that have ruled civilizations for generations, but none hold a candle to the power that was once held by Tony's family. Forget Rockefeller,
What the
House
Sigma?
of Saud, the Rothschild family. They're all nothing in comparison to Tony's crew. His inheritance is a major point of contention for him, because he believes the world owes him a limitless amount of wealth and properties and assets and other monetary buzzwords. His genetics are 100% royal and perfect, and god damn it, he deserves every single piece of commodity that a person could ever have, and then some. Simply put, Tony is entitled to the world. The satellite men and the entities that control the US government wish to steal his identity to claim his inheritance, which is why they kidnapped him when he was younger. This sparked a fire in his belly, and he has since hungered for reimbursement through litigation. That's right. Tony Chase demands that he be refunded the money and assets that were taken from him, alongside additional payment due to his pain and suffering.
Oh, hi,
He
little
continues to
guy.
make
You
a big
explode
fuss,
the
kicking
podzol,
and
don't
screaming
you?
until he thinks the courts
The
will
podzel's
listen.
great.
And then to his surprise, they step in and prevent him from being able to sue the government and whoever else. Everybody else gets their Satellite Man lawsuit money but him. And this is just further evidence that there are outside sources that are tampering with his existence. I'd argue that the Satellite Man has turned Tony's castle into his cage.
And this fucking Satellite Man's trying to damage my face, like...
Oh no.
What the fuck you doing that for, you son of a bitch?
Oh.
This is probably one of the most pertinent parts of Tony's loop. He will always steer the conversation back to the government and the Satellite Man, and how they're consistently stifling his attempts to get what he feels he's owed. Is he imagining all of this, or are the courts actually stopping him because he doesn't have these rights to property that he's claiming that he's owed? This certainly keeps him up at night, and I personally consider it to be the main driving force behind his quest to hold the satellite pricks responsible. His family goes back many generations, spanning across the globe. His blood allegedly has both a European and Asian lineage. This is also part of why he's being targeted as well, because of his minuscule Asian status. This obviously leads on to his next major argument against his enemies. They're being racist towards him. Anything they do against him is automatically anti-Asian hate, and everybody knows racism is fucked up. Tony will not stand for baseless, awful behavior like spreading a prejudice message.
How you guys doing? This is important in reference to prosecuting the government satellite controllers for hate crimes. And these people terrorizing me in reference to my looks, in reference to my mother and father, and my family history, and
later.
in reference to my parents having good relations with Asia and
No.
other friendly countries.
I'll
This
add
is in
it
reference
now.
to other friendly countries.
Actually,
too.
I'm gonna build it out of
But
cracked.
you know, in reference to
No,
the
I'm gonna
hate
build it
crimes
normally.
and
I'm
these
gonna build it
satellite controllers
Just be normal.
hating on me in reference to some people think I look Asian, or some people think I, European Asian or American Asian history of things. Some people have noted that information in reference to history of movies and TV shows when I was little too.
From everything I've gathered, Tony lives in complete and total squalor. He does not have anything in his life that he can reliably refer to as predictable and normal. Everything that could go wrong does go wrong. But if he holds an opinion that he's of a better standard, as though he's an upper echelon member of society, then perhaps that means he is truly of royal descent. This could be his mind's way of trying to process everything negative in his life. It can be hard and painful to accept an ugly truth. So instead, his brain concocts a more grandiose story with Tony playing the role of the main character. It's not that he's alone because he's mentally ill and circumstances aren't fair, it's because he's a targeted person. He's a targeted individual because he comes from wealth, not because he's accusing non-existent people of crimes because he's unwell. It's a childlike mentality where he's got to have somebody he can blame things on, like a kid blaming their imaginary friend after they drew on the walls with markers. Tony is very unique among other victims of relentless ridicule online due to the fact that he appears to be entirely self-sufficient. Most people that are turned into lolcows suffer from an inability to get work, usually because they don't have any marketable skills. What Tony lacks in sanity, he makes up for with his work ethic. He's able to hold down jobs unless trolls interfere with his employment. He's very fortunate to be so driven, and even more fortunate to have inherited his house. Even though he's got his life more or less in order, and by that I mean he's got a steady income and some personal property, he still thinks that the government and other cruel criminal masterminds are trying to take his property away from him, even though all he has to do is just pay his property taxes and utilities. Given his situation, it really doesn't get much cushier than that. Tony's employment history, at least from what I was able to find, mainly extends from retail to commercial trucking, with the former being his most consistent form of work. He has stated multiple times that he was laid off from his position at Milton Trucking after they underwent some downsizing, but there's really no way to verify these claims. At least as of 2024, Tony appears to have held down a job at a home goods department store, which is great. I can't imagine having to work with him because I'm sure that on some level his hallucinations and general delusions affect his day-to-day work schedule. But you know, he's a nice guy nonetheless. I just hope that Tony doesn't shake his fist at me or accuse me of trying to nab his franken beans when I try to purchase a set of patio furniture. Remember guys, if people have mental health issues and disabilities like Tony are able to come into work every day and do their job, there is absolutely no excuse for you not to be able to do the same thing as long as you're able-bodied. Due to the pain he feels all over his body, he believes that he is horrifically injured. He continues to work even though he's describing excruciating pain throughout his appendages. While he is usually able to maintain his job, there have been brief periods where he doesn't have any sort of income coming in, which of course he blames on his injuries. Not all of Tony's fans are insipid pricks that want to see him experience mental and emotional turmoil, as some have raised money via GoFundMe to help him make ends meet when funds are tight. I was unfortunately unable to find any evidence of these GoFundMe pages, but the Tony Chase wiki claims they existed, so do with that as you will. However, Tony does have something up his sleeve that he hopes to one day grow into a successful international chain: Ballet Pizza. He's classically trained in the culinary arts. This is also a persistent trait among his high-class lineage. The particular dish that he has mastered is the pizza pie. If there is one thing this guy can do, he can bake a fucking pizza. At about the end of 2023, Tony became infatuated with cooking up pizzas and began to regularly post about his illustrious pizza-making career. His simple dietary interest and budding hobby turned into yet another one of his bloodline's many successful businesses. Or, well, it should have anyway. No business can thrive without extensive networking and marketing. Tony knew that if he was going to succeed, he'd have to spread the word of his brand. In December of 2023, Tony created an Instagram account for what would become his latest and greatest professional endeavor, Ballet Pizza. Almost every video that featured his pizza was brilliantly named after his booming business. One of my favorites is called, you guessed it, Ballet Pizza, uploaded on December 31st, 2023. Not to be confused with Ballet Pizza from December 26th or January 10th. This was an expertly crafted pizza using only the finest ingredients from Kroger. The cheese looks crispy but chewy. Each slice of pepperoni was placed perfectly from each other, except that one that's kind of lopsided. The sausage was, well, it was sausage. The tangy tomato sauce was just oozing out the sides. It was just, culinary perfection. Absolutely divine. And just thinking about it is making my pants feel tighter. His love for his business has even spread to his Montana van, with a vanity plate in reference to his brand.
Saying, hey, I told you I was gonna get you. It was like, fuck, his breath smelled like fucking shit.
To further expand his reach in his local market, he brought a handmade pie to a nearby O'Reilly Auto Parts to get their input and make sure that his community knew that he meant business. Hell, his brand was even invested in the holiday season. Tony really does know how to excel in his field. I think we should stand in awe of his business prowess and carefully follow in his footsteps.
Hello, people, and Happy New Year's and Happy Holidays in the future, too, and Happy New Year 2023 from my Ballet Pizza Company, and friendly acknowledgments in reference to people in the media that know me and celebrities that know me. You know, most people know I'm a hermaphrodite since the day I was born. And in reference to music industries, movies,
go away, villager.
Modeling industry, ballet, of course. You know, in reference to information, you know, my ballet company says hello and Happy New Year's to everybody and their families and people in friendly countries around the world. Lots of things of importance, and hope everybody has a good Happy New Year and future.
Tony sees Ballet Pizza as part of his larger legacy, and this may very well be his last true defining venture in finance. He's carefully constructing a business that could potentially outlive him, so long as the satellite man doesn't cause any problems for him that could prevent growth. There's always going to be the looming threat of the government trying to sabotage his creations, but with the support of his many loyal fans and customers, Tony can prevail against his detractors and open a chain of Ballet Pizza establishments across the state, then America, and then the goddamn world. I fully support Tony in his fight against the satellite establishment. Also, I really want to try that pizza. It might be good, it might be shit, but you never know. Just before the turn of the new year in late December 2023, Tony claimed that his house was broken into by a federal agent, who discovered his top-secret pizza recipe and made off with it.
And how you guys doing? You know, I went to the store just a little while ago. But, went to Walmart and Kroger's. Somebody obviously tried to communicate something that some of these government people tried to copy my pizza dough. Or they tried to steal my pizza dough the way I make it.
There's a viewer.
Court cases
but who was he?
And that's immediate lawsuits too. Automatically. Every day of my life is copywritten and protected. So in reference to people trying to steal my inventions, people trying to steal my recipes, people trying to steal my pizza dough, people trying to copy things, people trying to rip me off or whatever, is a crime. But somebody tried to say that when I went to the store that some government men got into the house and they stole my pizza dough and they took it downtown and analyzed it. And then they tried to copy it or something. That's trespassing. It's a violation of royal law and treasury laws too. So somebody needs to find out if they did that. and they need to arrest people trying to steal things from me.
Nobody had any idea as to who could have been the one to take the recipe, but Tony boldly declared on January 6, 2024 that associates of Kraft Foods were illegally selling Ballet Pizza without cutting Tony in on the action.
Look at this.
These two unscrupulous bad actors were Duckworth and Bill Balboni. This video was significant because Tony was adamant that he had no association with either Duckworth or Bill Balboni, and proposed the idea of having them both arrested for intellectual property theft, because you know, they were in violation of his copyright and all of that shit.
And hello, somebody called and said they were from
Copyright
New
laws are
Jersey,
pretty
and,
bullcrap most
they
of the
had
time.
some document of some guy named Bill Balboni, and he worked with Duckworth. This guy called me and claimed he was from the Chinese embassy in China. No, Balboni, you have no connection to my Ballet Pizza Company. You have no legal rights of any kind. You have no copyrights. You have no position. And you won't ever have any position. I don't know who the fuck you are. If you stole anything or trespassed on the property, you need to get arrested. I am not tied in with Bill Balboni or whoever the fuck he is. And the courts need to have him arrested if he's in America, and they probably need to have Duckworth arrested too. They said they worked at Kraft Foods, or he had some ties to Kraft Food. Bill Balboni, you're not a friend of mine. I'm not associated with you. I don't know who you are. Don't know where you came from. Not associated with you in any way. You're not associated with Doris Duke or Walt Disney Sr. You're not associated with me. I don't know who the fuck you are.
The theft of his pizza dough formula hit him deep in his soul. How dare that fucking satellite dickhead steal his recipe? What does he need it for? He's the government. He's already got limitless funding. Whoever got their hands on his list of ingredients and steps was arguably the worst person to ever exist. This is a prime example of government overreach, preventing people like Tony from exercising their God-given right to establish a chain of pizza joints. I do admire that regardless of whatever is thrown at him, be it repeated smothering from the federal government as he tries to carve out his own slice of the American dream, or the burning of his many teeth and extremities, that he's a valiant fighter that won't back down until his legs give out. He continues to fight for his right to be a restaurateur and climb the ladder of the food